Can I request you to please take your seats? Before we start the meeting, I had received a request from the US to take the floor for 30 seconds. Anybody there from the delegation of the United States of America? There was a request from Ambassador Manis to take the floor for 30 seconds. Before I commence this meeting, would you like to, do you know about that request? And if you would like to take the floor?
Okay.
The host country, India, would like to make some housekeeping announcements. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for giving us the floor. We just wanted to make a couple of small announcements. One, on behalf of the Ministry of Culture, the Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India has just, approved a matter wherein for all the delegates of the World Heritage Committee who are present here, the monuments which are under the protection of the ASI, and there are 3,697 of them. The entry to all these monuments is free for the delegates till 10th of August. So I thought we will make this as announcement for the distinguished delegates who are present here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
How many monuments are under your protection? Can you just tell the number slowly and clearly for my ears?
3,697, out of which 25 are the World Heritage properties. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, with your permission now, let's resume our session. I hope you had a pleasant lunch break and had a further opportunity to enjoy Indian cuisine. We are now going to resume the examination of our agenda item 7B. As you may have noticed, we are a bit behind schedule and still have a dense agenda to go through this afternoon. I would therefore urge you to kindly be concise in your interventions so that we can examine all remaining state of conservation reports and close agenda item 7B this afternoon as planned before starting with the nomination items tomorrow morning. We now go to the properties proposed for inscription on the list of World Heritage in Danger for the Asia-Pacific region. Lumbini, the birthplace of the Lord Buddha, Nepal. I now invite Ms. Himalchiri Gurung, Chief of the Asia and Pacific Unit of the World Heritage Center and ECOMOS, to present the next report on the state of conservation of the cultural properties located in this region and open for discussion. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. The summary of conservation issues for this property is available in working document WHC/24/46.com/7B on pages 76 to 80 of the English version and on pages 79 to 84 of the French version. The World Heritage Committee has examined the state of conservation of Lumbini, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, for the 19th time since 1999. In Decision 45-7B.46, adopted in Riyadh in September in 2023, the committee considered that Lumbini's urgent conservation needs require a broad mobilization to preserve its outstanding universal value, including its possible inscription on the list of World Heritage in Danger, and therefore decided to review its state of conservation at this session. The Joint World Heritage Center ECOMOS Reactive Monitoring Mission, conducted in March 2022, expressed its concerns over the deteriorating state of the property and specific projects such as the Mayadevi Temple Shelter and the newly constructed Buddhist Meditation Hall, having a capacity of 5,000 people. On 19 February 2024, the World Heritage Center requested information from the State Party in line with paragraph 174 of the operational guidelines, following third-party reports about new development projects in the vicinity of this property. However, to date, the State Party is yet to respond to this request. 3 consultation meetings between the World Heritage Center, ECOMOS, and the State Party of Nepal were organized prior to this session to discuss the state of conservation of Lumbini and the proposal to add this property to the list of World Heritage in Danger. Following these consultations, Nepal submitted 3 additional documents on 23rd June 2024 as follows: a hydrological assessment of the Mayadevi shelter dated 2022, a technical report on conservation at the Sacred Garden and Mayadevi shelter dated April 2023, and a proposal for the long-term conservation of the Lumbini archaeological monuments dated April 2024. Now, with your permission, Mr. Chairperson, ECOMOS could provide further comments on the state of conservation of the property and the rationale behind the proposal to inscribe Lumbini, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Lumbini, the birthplace of the Lord Buddha, is under significant threat and in need of urgent support, not only from the relevant state party authorities, but also from the wider global community. ECOMOS acknowledges progress with important management initiatives, including the declaration of the Protected Monument Zone and the creation of the Lumbini World Heritage Coordination Unit. However, significant discrepancies exist between the capacity of the Lumbini Development Trust, which acts as site manager, and the nature and scale of the required conservation efforts. The integrated management framework can only achieve its intended aims if sufficient financial and other resources are allocated, and therefore the proposed action plan is required. It is appropriate for the committee to record that new developments have occurred in the Sacred Garden without either impact assessment or referral to the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies, despite the fact that the World Heritage Convention and its operational guidelines recognise impact assessment as a vital tool to support the conservation of the property's outstanding universal value. For example, the old Lumbini village archaeological site in the buffer zone, identified as the most important site on the Lumbini Sacred Garden archaeological risk map, was damaged by heavy machinery early in 2022, arising from an infrastructure project without prior impact assessment. Halting the Lumbini World Peace City project has removed its immediate potential impact on the outstanding universal value of the property, but this project highlights that timely heritage impact assessment and referral in accordance with paragraph 172 of the operational guidelines are essential, and also demonstrates why current projects, such as those arising from the review of the Kenzo Tangi Master Plan and the Visitor Management Plan, need comprehensive heritage assessments. To enable such assessments, the guidelines for heritage impact assessment in Nepal, which predate the 2022 guidance and toolkit for impact assessments in a World Heritage context, do require amendment, and they need to align with this important guidance developed through the World Heritage Leadership Programme. The condition of the Sacred Garden and the Mayadevi Temple shelter and their highly significant ruins is of grave concern. While many documents dating back decades have been submitted by the state party, they reveal that interventions to date have not remedied the serious physical deterioration and degraded conditions. Regrettably, the need for urgent conservation efforts has been identified by the November 2022 Interdisciplinary Technical Meeting for the Conservation of Archaeological Remains, by the 2022 Reactive Monitoring Mission, by the International Scientific Committee in 2023, and by information and reports submitted by the State Party in June 2024, including confirmation by the State Party's own consultants. Important recommendations from the 2022 Reactive Monitoring Mission and the 2023 International Scientific Committee meeting are yet to be addressed. The state of conservation of Lumbini requires immediate conservation measures within the Mayadevi Temple shelter, plus long-term protection goals, including best available technologies. Regrettably, the perilous state and deteriorating condition of the remains within the Sacred Garden and the Mayadevi Temple shelter, and the lack of progress with mitigation measures constitute an ascertained threat to the outstanding universal value of the property within the meaning of paragraph 179 of the operational guidelines. Therefore, the original draft decision put before the committee proposes that the property be inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger in order to galvanise more effective conservation efforts and international support, and to provide a framework for the state party to work closely with the World Heritage Centre and advisory bodies to establish a set of corrective measures as a roadmap to recovery. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I would like to know if there are any comments from member states. India, you have the floor, followed by Lebanon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving India the floor. The property Lumbini, the birthplace of the Lord Buddha, is quite close to India's heart. This is one example of what we may consider is the shared heritage between India and the concerned state party. India has examined the documents submitted by the state party as well as read and heard the reports of the Secretariat and the advisory body. The ICOMOS has made its observations mainly on the basis of the implementation of the 2022 Reactive Monitoring Mission and 2023 International Scientific Committee meetings. The State of Conservation report submitted by the state party that has just been presented by the Secretariat and ICOMOS indicates to us, apart from the issues that they have raised, significant progress that has been made by the state party in implementing these recommendations, such as the declaration of Lumbini as the protected monument zone, implementation of an integrated management framework, formation of the World Heritage Coordination Unit in the Lumbini Development Trust, and the preparation of initial sector strategies documents, amongst others. Recently, after the submission of the State of Conservation report, the state party has submitted further 3 new documents related to the Sacred Garden and the Maya Devi Temple shelter for the evaluation, which have been, informed by the Secretariat, which includes one hydrological assessment report of the Maya Devi Temple shelter, the technical report on the conservation of cultural heritage within the Sacred Garden, and the proposal for the long-term conservation of the Lumbini archaeological monuments. So we are in the acknowledgement of the receipt of these reports. Now, the state party has committed to undertake a comprehensive heritage impact assessment before carrying out any further work within the property or adjoining areas as having potential archaeological significance. Also, the state party will submit a detailed implementation plan and schedule for a full implementation, which could be reviewed by the advisory bodies next year. Therefore, Mr. Chair, we see that the state party has taken a number of initiatives and measures and is committed to protecting the World Heritage property and its outstanding universal values, following the guidelines and recommendations made by the World Heritage Center and the experts of the advisory body from time to time. In view of the above, the delegation of India would like to request the committee to grant some more time to the state party and by postponing the inscription of Lumbini, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, on the list of World Heritage in danger, and request an updated report on the state of conservation of the property to be presented in its 47th session. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to ask some question to the state party, or it's okay?
Not at this stage, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Lebanon, followed by Belgium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lumbini was listed as a World Cultural Heritage Site in 1997. It's a major World Heritage Site, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, which protection is of great importance to humanity as a whole. Since 2002, the World Heritage Committee expressed its grave concern about the state of conservation of the property, more particularly on developments within the core and the buffer zones, which affects its integrity, and which were decided and implemented without informing the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies, and without heritage impact assessment. In 2005, the committee discussed the possibility of ascribing the property on the list in danger, but the decision was postponed following a commitment by the state party that strict limitations will be imposed to the new projects under construction, quote, and that further measures were expected to be taken in the future, unquote. The issue was raised again in 2014, with new development projects being launched without informing the center and the advisory bodies. The committee expressed again its grave concern in decisions taken successively in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2018, 2019, and 2021. Following the 2022 joint mission, the committee decided, as said by ICOMOS in its 45th session, that urgent conservation needs require board mobilization, including possible inscription on the World Heritage List in danger. A lot has been done since 20 years to help the state party in the conservation of the property. Since 2010, the State Party received more than $3 million from international assistance and extra budgetary funds. Several advisory missions were sent to the property, and since 2009, UNESCO expert missions were sent almost on a yearly basis. It is clear that all these efforts are not sufficient, and that the State Party is facing huge pressures that it cannot handle, which requires a wider mobilization of the international community in order to save the property. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Belgium, followed by Jamaica.
Thank you, Chair. Our position is based on a thorough lecture of the documents on the WHC website dealing with Lumbini, the birthplace of the Lord Buddha, without a doubt a World Heritage Property of outstanding universal and spiritual value. We commend the State Party of Nepal for the measures implemented and the actions taken, particularly the halting of the Lumbini World Peace City project and the installation of a WH coordination unit. But we also note that additional actions are needed and in some cases extremely urgent. We therefore support the original draft decision and join the statement made by my colleague of the Lebanon. And we also call upon the WHC, ICOMOS and the State Party to intensify the dialogue to address these issues. Chair, Belgium has stated already at the beginning of this session, we need to get rid of the stigma associated with danger listing. It is not a punishment, it is not putting the blame on somebody, on the contrary maybe. We would like to remind our colleagues that as state parties to this convention, we signed a document that mentions in its preamble, in view of the magnitude and gravity of the new dangers threatening cultural and natural heritage, it is incumbent on the international community as a whole to participate in the protection of the cultural and natural heritage of outstanding universal value by the granting of collective assistance which, although not taking the place of action by the state concerned, will serve as an efficient complement thereto. In our view, this is exactly what this draft decision is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Jamaica, followed by Japan.
Thank you, Chair. Jamaica thanks ICOMOS for their comprehensive report on this significant site of Lumbini, the birthplace of Lord Buddha. ICOMOS's recognition of the State Party of Nepal's actions towards the site's preservation is noted with particular mention of the declaration of Lumbini as a protective monument zone, the formation of the Lumbini World Heritage Coordination Unit, an integrated management framework for which budget allocation is now in place for its implementation. The State Party has expressed its commitment to implement the recommendations of the 2022 Reactive Monitoring Mission and the 2023 International Scientific Committee meeting. They have shared some of this work and asked for time to complete it as indicated in the documents provided, and in close collaboration with the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS. We would support their request for additional time, along with the consideration for the site not to be listed on the list of World Heritage in danger at this time, but that we allow a report to be submitted at the designated time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jamaica. I give the floor to Japan, followed by Turkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Japan appreciates dedicated works of the World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, as well as the State Party on Lumbini, the birthplace of the Lord Buddha. We have supported the State Party's efforts in preserving World Heritage through our JFIT funding, and so we have been closely following the situation of this file as well. Given the still ongoing efforts of the State Party to address various challenges pointed out by ICOMOS, it is premature at this stage to consider inscribing this file on the list in danger. On the other hand, it is true that more works need to be done by the State Party, such as more effective implementation of heritage impact assessments, as pointed out by ICOMOS. To that end, we urge the State Party, World Heritage Center, and ICOMOS to further enhance their dialogue to ensure steady implementation of ICOMOS's recommendations. So Japan supports amendment proposed by India, which shows a good way forward in a balanced manner. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Japan. I give the floor to Turkey, followed by Argentina.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We appreciate the authorities of Nepal for their efforts to conservation of the Lumbini birthplace of the Lord Buddha heritage site and its outstanding universal value. It is obvious that Nepal has made significant progress to fulfill the recommendations of the reactive mission, as well as the decision of the 45th extended session of the committee. In this regard, we believe the inscription of the property in the danger list is not necessary and that the state party needs more time to implement all the recommendations. However, in the time given, we expect that Nepal fulfills its commitments and obligations regarding the recommendations of the reactive monitoring mission of 2022. Therefore, Turkey supports the amendments submitted by India to ensure the property not be inscribed to the danger list. Thank you.
Thank you, Turkey. I now give the floor to Argentina, followed by Qatar.
Gracias, señor presidente. Durante toda esta reunión hablamos de lo que significa estar en la lista en peligro. Coincidimos en que no debería ser un estigma. El problema es cómo se percibe en el resto del mundo. En toda la población que no está familiarizada con la UNESCO, entrar en la lista en peligro es un castigo. Tenemos que cambiarlo. Este bien en particular es un bien cultural, pero por sobre todo es un bien espiritual. Entonces, nosotros podemos utilizar una herramienta para fortalecer el bien cultural, pero sin quererlo estamos dando un mensaje espiritual muy duro a una gran parte de la humanidad que tiene a Lumbini y a Buda como un guía espiritual extremadamente importante. Entonces, para conseguir más recursos, para poner en práctica el artículo 179 de nuestras guías operativas, tenemos que pensar que estamos dando un mensaje que tal vez sea mal interpretado. Busquemos los recursos, demos tiempo a Nepal para hacer lo que ya saben que tienen que hacer gracias a nuestra ayuda. El trabajo que ha hecho ICOMOS es fundamental, el que ha hecho la UNESCO también. Bueno, ahora, como en casos anteriores, es el momento de dejarle al Estado parte la posibilidad de decir, aprendí, escuché lo que me dijeron, necesitamos fondos. Bueno, busquémoslos, pero pedimos que se le otorgue un poco más de tiempo para llegar a cumplir. Y quisiéramos hacer una pregunta en concreto al Estado, a Nepal. Nos dijeron que aún no han respondido a la información que se le solicitó en febrero, luego de la misión de seguimiento reactivo. Quisiéramos saber si están preparando esta respuesta, si tiene Nepal algo para decirnos, y vamos a apoyar las enmiendas presentadas por la India. Muchas gracias. Cuando se presenten. Gracias.
Thank you, Argentina. We now give the floor to Qatar, to be followed by Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The efforts and initiatives undertaken by Nepal to preserve and safeguard Lumbini are commendable. It's worth to note the measures and efforts undertaken by the state party. Firstly, the implementation and adoption of the integrated management framework, which represent a structured approach towards safeguarding Lumbini. Secondly, the declaration of the Lumbini Protected Monument Zone and the allocation of budget by the Lumbini Development Trust are significant measures. Thirdly, the formation of the interdisciplinary technical team for the conservation of archaeological remains within the sacred garden is a positive step. Furthermore, the ban on carbon-emitting factories mandated by the Industrial Promotion Board and the Supreme Court of Nepal is another remarkable effort by the state party. Overall, Nepal has demonstrated a commitment to addressing the committee's concerns and implementing substantial measures to safeguard Lumbini. Therefore, Mr. Chair and distinguished member state delegates of the committee, I propose that we grant Nepal the requested additional time to complete the remaining conservation works. It is in our collective interest to support and encourage the continuation of these efforts, ensuring that Lumbini is preserved for future generation without immediately inscribing it on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Qatar. We now give the floor to Kazakhstan, to be followed by Vietnam.
Thank you, Chair. Dear colleagues, upon reviewing the meticulously prepared documents by the WHC ICOMOS mission, which clearly outlines the existing threats, it is recognized that despite some progress in implementing recommendations and reducing risks, the government of Nepal and all concerned parties must continue their efforts to address current issues such as industrial encroachment, the preservation of archaeological remains, and the management of new land use development projects. Ensuring comprehensive heritage impact assessments for all development projects remains critically important for preserving the outstanding universal value of Lumbini. We acknowledge and support Nepal's proactive measures, including the establishment of the World Heritage Coordination Unit, the formation of an interdisciplinary technical group dedicated to preserving archaeological remains in the sacred garden, and the implementation of an integrated management system that guides all conservation actions and ensures that development projects do not threaten the outstanding universal value of Lumbini. In light of the complex and ambiguous situation, the seriousness of the existing problems reflected in the draft decision is clearly understood. However, in an attempt to find balance, Kazakhstan aligns with India's proposal to amend the decision, primarily concerning the need for Nepal to provide a detailed implementation plan and timeline for the full execution of the recommendations from the 2023 International Scientific Committee and the 2022 Reactive Monitoring Mission. We also urge the State Party of Nepal to treat any decision to be announced today as a clear signal on the need to further enhance its work to protect this unique site of great importance for many in Asia and around the world. Additionally, like the colleagues who spoke before us in support of the amendments, there is a conviction that in the state of conservation report, which Nepal, according to the draft decision, should prepare and submit to the World Heritage Center by February 1st, 2025, the progress achieved in addressing the currently pressing issues should be evident. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. I now give the floor to Vietnam, followed by the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My delegation notes the concerns expressed by the advisory bodies on this site. However, we see that the government of Nepal is actively implementing various recommendations from the reactive monitoring mission and the decisions adopted by the committee last year. And the progress made are quite encouraging. However, some of the tasks are time-consuming and require additional knowledge and resources. And the committee should give more time to the state party to implement those tasks. We also note that Nepal, the state party is ready to continue collaboration and cooperation with the World Heritage Center, the advisory bodies, and the international community on this issue. And they are also ready to provide all documentation of the preservation work and to implement the past recommendations and observations. They are also ready to welcome the joint verification mission again, as it has been almost 2 years since the last mission visited Nepal. So my delegation thinks that it's a little bit premature to put the site on the list in danger, and that's why we would like to co-author the amendments put forward by India.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Republic of Korea, followed by Italy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Republic of Korea takes note of the constructive recommendations made by the World Heritage Center and its advisory bodies for the preservation of the OUV of Lumbini, a remarkable common heritage of humanity. We also recognize the efforts and safeguarding measures that the government of Nepal is taking to protect the site, including the suspension of the Lumbini World Peace City project. We understand that the government of Nepal is undertaking measures requested by the advisory body, such as the hydrological assessment and requested conference center guideline. Additionally, during our informal discussion, the state party, the delegation of Nepal, confirmed that they will conduct the HIA before any further work is done on the site. For these reasons, the Republic of Korea considers it appropriate to allow the state party to act on its intentions while also encouraging continued close cooperation with the center and the advisory bodies. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Italy, followed by Mexico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to follow up on the remarks by the distinguished delegate from Argentina. This is just not a normal site. This is a site which has a significant, very special value across the world for Buddhists and not Buddhists alike. So it might indeed give the wrong impression across the world that the site is described in the World Heritage List in danger. And combined with the fact that we acknowledge the efforts deployed by the government of Nepal for a better upkeeping of the site, we would like to align ourselves with the amendments proposed by India. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Mexico.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Seré muy breve, ha habido muchos comentarios ya. Desde la óptica de una institución a la que represento, además de mi país, que es pionera y fundamental en la conservación del patrimonio mundial, tener un sitio del patrimonio mundial como este, que cumple con medidas para implementar el estudio de impacto patrimonial, con el manejo integrado de los monumentos, con un plan de manejo de riesgo de desastres, con un plan de visitantes, de comunidad y desarrollo sostenible, con estrategias para conservación arqueológica, ambiental y de desarrollo local, con un plan integrado de acción y además que entrega informes técnicos de conservación del patrimonio cultural, es realmente un lujo y un privilegio. Es difícil encontrar todas estas características en todos los sitios inscritos en la lista. Agradecemos al Estado parte que tuvo la amabilidad de proporcionarnos mayor información cuando se la solicitamos y, por tanto, nos suscribimos la enmienda a la decisión presentada por la India de un sitio que contribuye al espíritu de paz impulsado por la UNESCO. Gracias.
Thank you. Now that the state parties have taken the floor, I will give the floor to Nepal to answer certain questions that were posed. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. As I am taking the floor for the first time, I would like to congratulate your chairmanship and excellent arrangement and hospitality extended to us by the Government of India. I would like to express our full commitment for the full implementation of 2022 Reactive Monitoring Mission and International Scientific Committee. This is one of the clarification I want to give. This is regarding the 19 February third-party notice. Actually, these the information sought from the third party are not within the property site and in the buffer zone, but the greater Lumbini area. But there are two information sought by the third party, and that has already been addressed by the competent authorities in Nepal. There are no more in operational now. These are the one cow shed, and one is the sculpted stones statue of Buddha that has both have been halted by the instruction from the Department of Archaeology. Similarly, there is one information sought about the light shade lamp in the Lumbini area at the buffer zone that has primarily constructed on the assumption that it would stop that has been the pilgrims management, but we are subject to HIA, and my experts are already here. The HIA is ready. We'll submit it to the center and go by the advice of review of the advisory bodies, including ECOMOS. And there is one information short is the master plan for Greater Lumbini area. There is no master plan so far, and we will discuss the master plan with the advisory bodies in the center and we will implement it. Similarly, the Lumbini Peace City is the conceptual plan and it has not in the operation so far. So whenever there is any kind of operation, we will share the HIA with the advisory bodies. Similarly, meditation plan, the HIA has already been submitted and it has been concluded by the authority that there is no negative effect if the site is far away from the property side. I thank you, Mr. Chairperson, and ready to clarify other issues if there arises later on. I thank you again.
Thank you. I see that there is no request for further questions or taking the floor. I will now go to the draft decision. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46COM 7B.37 concerning this property, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Effectivement, et tel qu'annoncé par la délégation indienne en début de discussion, nous avons bien reçu un amendement soumis par l'Inde et soutenu à l'instant en salle par la Jamaïque, le Japon, la Turquie, l'Argentine, le Qatar, le Kazakhstan, le Vietnam, l'Italie et le Mexique. Si notre équipe pouvait également rajouter le Mexique. Amendement qui se présente de telle sorte. Troisième paragraphe, remplacement du plan d'action du CGI par pris instamment l'État partie de faciliter la mise en œuvre rapide du cadre de gestion intégré pour le bien et de soumettre les stratégies sectorielles associées et le plan d'action intégré au Centre du patrimoine mondial pour examen. Paragraphe 7. Supprime la mention « avec inquiétude » sur la note concernant l'état du jardin sacré. Paragraphe 11. Remplace « exprime son profond regret que de nombreuses recommandations de la réunion de 2023 par « demande à l'État partie de soumettre un plan et un calendrier détaillé pour la mise en œuvre des recommandations de la réunion de 2023 du Comité scientifique international et de la mission de suivi réactif de 2022 qui n'ont pas encore été suivis d'effet. Nous avons également fait un petit changement d'ordre mineur dans les deux versions concernant le terme mise en œuvre, implementation. Paragraphe suivant propose la suppression des paragraphes 12, 13 et 14 pour arriver au dernier paragraphe. Demande enfin à l'État partie de soumettre au Centre du patrimoine mondial, d'ici le 1er février 2025, un rapport actualisé sur l'état de conservation du bien et sur la mise en œuvre des points ci-dessus mentionnés, pour examen par le Comité du patrimoine mondial à sa 47e session, considérant que les besoins urgents de ce bien en matière de conservation nécessitent une large mobilisation pour préserver sa valeur universelle exceptionnelle, y compris une possible inscription sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Can we go to the first para? And I've seen that 3 member states have raised the plate. First, India, Jamaica, Japan, Turkey, Argentina, Qatar, Kazakhstan, Vietnam, Italy, Mexico, Republic of Korea. So 11 member states are in support of this, and 2 member states, Belgium and Lebanon, want to keep the original decision, but I see 3 member states have raised their plate. I'll give the floor to Bulgaria, followed by Greece.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bulgaria also supports the amendment submitted by India. So could you please add Bulgaria among the state parties supporting the amendment? Thank you.
Thank you. Greece, followed by Rwanda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to also be added among the countries that support the amendments proposed by India. Thank you.
Thank you. Rwanda, followed by St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to support the amendment proposed by India.
Thank you. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, followed by Senegal.
Yes, we would also like to support the amendment.
Thank you. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal soutient l'amendement de l'Inde et souhaite que son nom soit ajouté.
We have 16 member states who are supporting it, which is more than two-thirds majority. Lebanon, will you want your name to be removed in lieu of a two-thirds majority supporting the amendment? You have the floor.
No, Mr. President, sorry, we keep our, it's a question of principle, we keep our name.
Okay, Belgium, will you want your name to be removed?
Yes, Mr. Chair, you can remove our name.
All right, you can please.
Support from the room. Thank you.
Okay. As the chair, Ukraine, you take the floor.
Yeah, thank you. We would like our name would be inscribed. Thank you.
Okay. Zambia?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, would also to be added on the list.
"19 out of 21 members are supporting it, and Lebanon is not supporting it. We have an overwhelming majority. The mood of the committee is very clear. The chair has the right. I could have called for a show of hands, but the names are very clear. So we will be accepting this amendment. We go to para 4. Are there any objections to para 4? I see none. We go to next para. Para 5 and 6, are there any objections to para 5 and 6? I see none. Para 7, please replace the names of the countries, copy paste them from the top. Yeah. Any objections to para 7? I see none. Para 8, 9 and 10. I see no objections. Para 11, please copy paste the same. No request for floor. Para 12. No request for floor. Para 13. Para 14. There's no request. Yes, Lebanon.
Thank you. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Liban considère que, puisque ce dossier, ça fait 20 ans que le comité est inquiet des problèmes qui se posent sur ce site, que pendant 20 ans, il y a eu toutes les tentatives possibles pour essayer d'aider l'État partie, sans que ces tentatives n'aient réellement permis de permettre que le site sorte des problèmes et des dangers qui sont en train de le... Nous pensons que c'est important de garder l'inscription du site comme demandé dans la déclaration, dans le projet de décision d'origine, d'inscrire le site sur la liste du patrimoine en danger, puisque c'est le moyen, il semble que ça va être le seul moyen de permettre de pouvoir augmenter l'appui et l'aide de la communauté internationale à l'État partie pour pouvoir résoudre tous les problèmes qui se posent. Ça fait 20 ans que le comité essaye et ça ne donne rien. Voilà, merci.
There is no point in repeating the same thing 2 times. You were given the floor for 3 minutes as every other member state was given, and you mentioned that point, and now you are repeating the same points. So I please request member states, if there is nothing further new to add, we continue. Is there any objection to para 13 that appears like this? I see none. We go to para 14.
This was for para 14, Mr. Chairman.
We go, is there any objections to para 14? Lebanon, is your plate up or down? Yes, Lebanon. Is there anything new to say?
I'm sorry. In the para 14 is related to inscription of the site on the list in danger. That's all. This and Lebanon is alone, it's okay, but I mean it's a question of principle.
You stand for your principles, and each and every of the sovereign member state also stands for principle. We are all very principled member states here, and we continue.
Mr. President, we understand this very well. I mean, it's not a problem. We respect totally the decision of all member states, but
you have not been granted the floor to speak. The last time I checked was that the chair was here. We go to para 14, cancel. Is there any objection to this cancelling? I see none. We go next. Para 12. Is there any objections to para 12? I see none. We go up. There is one change that the Secretariat has requested. I will therefore give the Secretariat that floor. They have raised a question, and I will ask the Director, World Heritage Center, to kindly take the floor. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson. It was on paragraph 3 indeed, and it was just to make sure that we understand clearly the amendment so that it will be easy for the Secretariat to follow up its implementation with the state party. So here at the beginning, of course, the whole idea of the paragraph was, of course, to on the need to implement the integrated management framework. So if I understand, here the idea was more to be precise on, because you have the management plan and there is a plan of action. So what we want is, of course, to understand, the timeline, the actions and everything. So is it exactly what the delegation of India wanted to make clear here so that it will be easy for us not only to help to assist the delegation of the state party of Nepal to follow up. We do understand the integrated plan of actions. Of course, this is very clear. So what we're not clear is the sector strategy. So maybe this could be clarified so that we can follow up this clearly. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
India, would you like to respond to the Director of the WHC? You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think what we are trying to say here is, if we read it, if you allow us to read it, urges the state party to facilitate rapid implementation, which means that we would want that this plan, that integrated management framework plan, is implemented, at the earliest for the property, and therefore what we struck off was something which was repeating, repeating above. And then we, of course, when we say related sector strategies, what happens is that these integrated management plans or frameworks usually have the subsectoral plans. And therefore, that is where we said that if that the related sector strategies basically emanates from that. But now that the Director World Heritage Center has raised this question, perhaps we can request the state party concerned here to clarify if they wish to do so. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, the State Party of Nepal, would you like to clarify? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The idea was there are state party has submitted some sector strategy. So we are submitting full set of sector strategies that has been prepared, and this will lead to the integrated plan of action. So the schedule plan and implementation plan will come up with integrated framework, IMF, then sector strategies and integrated plan of action. I think I make it clear, Mr. Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. The Secretariat is okay with that. Thank you for the clarification, and thank you. Now that we have gone through all the paragraphs, I would be adopting this decision as a whole. But before I do that, I will make one request to the Lebanese colleague. Excellency, I had mentioned yesterday that we are all in love with Lebanese cuisine, and we appreciate Lebanese wisdom. But today you made a sentence that I may be alone. So it touched my heart. Let me tell you, Lebanon is never alone. And, we love Lebanon, and we really look forward to your wisdom. And you are never alone till an Indian is here, Excellency. But may I request you that would you be considerate enough to look at this beautiful para again and see that why the beautiful tree of Lebanon is standing by itself here, Excellency. Could you have it removed?
No problem. I agree with you totally, dear Chair.
You can have the word Lebanon removed from there, please. Thank you. I think this is the beauty of the World Heritage Convention, how member states, they come together, how they discuss, how they decide, and whether they oppose or they propose. Let me assure you that at the heart of every delegate of the committee, their intention is to safeguard the heritage. It may be in any country, but it belongs to all of humanity, and that is why it is World Heritage. I think this is the importance of UNESCO. UNESCO is perhaps one of the only subsidiary bodies of the United Nations system that is successful in bringing the whole world together to work together as a team for the safeguarding of these heritage properties. And with this, we are willing to adopt the decision as a whole. I see there are no objections, so draft decision 46 Com 7B.37 is adopted with amendment. I would like now to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about this property. And I see my brothers from Nepal are very pleased, and they are raising their hands and raising their plate. I see even the monk from the monastery at Lumbini, he is also willing to take the floor. So you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Yeah. This decision is not only in favor of Nepal, but this decision in favor of all peace. Congratulations to all the members. Mr. Chairperson, I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Your Excellency for your exemplary leadership and the outstanding chairmanship. I also wish to commend the Government of India for the exceptional arrangement made for these 14 sessions of the World Heritage Committee meeting. On behalf of the Nepalese delegation, I extend our best wishes for the success of this important gathering. We extend our deepest gratitude to the committee for their special consideration, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, Lumbini, a symbol of world peace, for deciding not to inscribe it on the list of World Heritage in danger. We express our sincere thanks to the delegations of India for their instrumental role in submitting the amendment and all the committee members for their thoughtful deliberations and support to Nepal. We are firmly committed to implement the recommendations of the Joint Reactive Monitoring Mission 2022 and the 2023 International Scientific Committee meeting. We also wish to convey our profound appreciation to the World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, and other advisory body for their invaluable observations which have significantly contributed to our efforts. I wish to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to safeguarding and managing this sacred site. We highly value the understanding and cooperation of the committee members and honestly seek the continued support of international community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nepal. We proceed now further. Seven B, Mixed Properties, Europe and North America. I now invite Mr. Elender Asamoah to read the list of the mixed properties inscribed on the World Heritage List located in Europe and North America region, for which all the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The following two properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussions are natural and cultural heritage of the Ohrid region, Albania, North Macedonia, and Laponian area, Sweden. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you.
There's a problem.
I request the technical team, please do not mute the chairperson. Whoever is in control of the operations here, if you mute me again, I will ask you to leave the venue. Thank you, Mr. Director. If there is no objection from the committee on this State of Conservation report, I declare the decisions read out as adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion.
You have Sweden, observer.
I see the Observer State Party of Sweden would like to take the floor. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving Sweden the floor. Let us first congratulate you on your appointment and express our gratitude to India for the generous hosting of this meeting. Sweden welcomes the committee's decision regarding the Laponian area, a mixed property consisting of a spectacular landscape connected to the traditional practice of reindeer husbandry by the Sami people. In 2022, the Swedish government granted an exploitation concession for the right to extraction and utilization of iron, some 30 kilometers to the south of the property. The concession gained legal force last month following a ruling by the Supreme Administrative Court. We would like to reassure the committee that while the concession determines who has the right to extract the minerals, it does not give a right to start operations. This requires a permit under the Swedish Environmental Code following rigorous impact assessments. We thank the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies, ICOMOS and IUCN, for a successful collaboration on the reinforced monitoring mission that took place in May of this year. We are grateful for their high level of professionalism and strong commitment, and fully respect their advice as a fundamental part of the World Heritage system. The cost of the mission have predominantly been covered by the Swedish National Heritage Board to avoid straining the World Heritage Fund. To conclude, Mr. Chair, we affirm our continued commitment to the World Heritage Convention and to the conservation of the Laponian area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other observer state party would like to take the floor? Yes. Which country is that?
No, it's the indigenous.
Observer state party. You're not a state party to the 1972 convention. Any of observer state party would like to take the floor? I see none. I now give the floor to the International Indigenous Peoples Forum on World Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the International Indigenous Peoples Forum on World Heritage. The UNESCO World Heritage Laponia area may be impacted by the Kalak mining concession if it is approved in the future. The local indigenous peoples will most certainly be affected if this occurs. Firstly, we would like to commend the state party on their continual engagement with the Sami people regarding this matter. However, we would like to point out that granting the Kalak mining concession before conducting appropriately detailed and robust consultations with the Sami people to gain their free, prior, and informed consent has resulted in a denial of their human rights. This could have been avoided and shows an obvious lack of recognition of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. We commend the state party for agreeing to the reactive monitoring mission. We are confident that they will ensure that the mission members are provided unrestricted access to the Sami representatives, ensuring their concerns are fully considered in the reactive monitoring mission report. We look forward to continued dialogue at the 47th World Heritage Committee meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for taking the trouble and coming here. We really respect your views and your comments, and this is the importance of NGOs in World Heritage. Thank you. Are there any further requests? I see none. Let us proceed then. We go to 7B, Mixed, Latin America and the Caribbean. I now invite Mr. Elendo Asomo to read the list of the mixed properties inscribed on the World Heritage List located in the Latin America and Caribbean region, for which all the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. You have the floor, Mr. Director.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. The property for which the report is proposed for adoption without discussion is Ancient Maya City and Protected Tropical Forest of Calakmul, Campeche, Mexico. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on this State of Conservation report, I declare the decisions read out adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. Argentina, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Quisiera hacer un breve comentario sobre este tipo de inscripciones que es muy importante. Aquí hemos visto durante todas las inscripciones de sitios en peligro que aparentemente hay un enfrentamiento, una diferencia de opiniones con los órganos técnicos que también nos asesoran y nos ayudan. Hemos visto algunas discusiones con algunos Estados miembros que parecen una confrontación. El problema es que el tema nos excede. El tema debe ser tratado por la conferencia de las partes, debe ser mayor analizado de otra manera. El estigma sigue existiendo de que es un castigo, no lo es, y necesitamos que seguir con la misma actividad, que los órganos evaluadores sigan siendo tan precisos como son, que nos sigan asesorando y que no se vea esto como un problema, como un enfrentamiento, sino que la solución viene por otro lado, que es en la conferencia de las partes y que excede nuestras propias competencias. Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Estamos muy contentos con la forma en la que usted condujo estas deliberaciones y esperemos que sirva para el futuro, para que orientemos nuestros trabajos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I had forgotten to express my thanks during the Lumbini discussion. You had mentioned a wonderful connection that the list of list of properties on the list of World Heritage in danger. A delegate had very correctly said it should not be seen as a stigma, and I supported that. That is a logical view. But then you had also mentioned an idealistic position and a real position, because in a real world, people may take it very differently. And I think the view that you expressed was very wise, and the delegate of Italy had also mentioned it very nicely. So I thank both of you for that analysis. Thank you. I now see that there are no further requests for the floor. So we will be proceeding then. I now invite Mr. Elendo Osomon to read the list of mixed properties inscribed on the World Heritage List located in the Africa region and for which all the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Mr. Director, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. The following two properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussions are NAD Massif, Natural and Cultural Landscape, Chad, Ngorongoro Conservation Area, United Republic of Tanzania. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on this State of Conservation report, I declare the decisions read out as adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. Tanzania, you have the floor.
Dear Chairperson, committee members, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania thanks the State Party of India for the well-organized 46th session of World Heritage Committee meeting here in New Delhi, India. My delegation has received highest level of hospitality since landing in your beautiful city to this date. I would like also to take this opportunity to thank you and the committee for the good manner and high level of integrity and professionalism you have exemplified in conducting sessions of this committee meeting. The State Party of the United Republic of Tanzania has accepted all decisions made for the best interest of our World Heritage sites, and we commend the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies for their efforts to make this meeting a success on World Heritage protection and conservation. The government of the United Republic of Tanzania wishes to state on record that we refute the notion of claims of forced eviction of our citizens, and indeed, we are concerned by the level of the ongoing misinformation campaign and unfounded allegations aimed at undermining our national efforts to balance heritage conservation, human rights, socio-economic development, and livelihoods of our citizens in the Ngorongoro Conservation Area. To put things into context, after the failed multiple land use model due to escalating human-wildlife conflicts, overpopulation of humans and livestock, widespreading zoonotic diseases, shrinking wildlife corridor and grazing land, lack of safe water sources, and poor sanitation, and the quest for socio-economic development of its citizens, consensus was reached through participatory and transparent process for a voluntary eviction program. The government of the United Republic of Tanzania reiterates its position that there are no specific indigenous people in the United Republic of Tanzania. The government recognizes there are communities with specific needs, such as the Hadzabe, and ensures that their civil, political, socio-economic, and cultural rights are promoted and respected. The government of the United Republic of Tanzania, guided by rule of law and the fundamental principles of good governance, has placed human rights at the forefront while addressing challenges in the Ngorongoro conservation area. The government has invited the advisory mission for Ngorongoro conservation area in February 2024, and its report is under finalization. The state party commits to work closely with the center and other state parties in addressing challenges facing its citizens in the Ngorongoro conservation area. The government of the United Republic of Tanzania is committed to observing human rights,
Please conclude.
heritage conservation, and socio-economic development. I thank you.
Thank you. If there is no objection from the committee on this state of conservation report, I declare the decisions read out as adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. I see none. Let's proceed. The International Indigenous Peoples Forum on World Heritage, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a statement of the International Indigenous Peoples Forum on World Heritage regarding the Ngorongoro Conservation Area in Tanzania, contained in document 7B 48 at 4. We note that according to the decision 7B 48, a report with preliminary observations of the advisory mission is currently being completed. We have been informed that no information about the visit was given to the indigenous peoples, and that all stakeholder meetings were arranged in exclusion of Maasai traditional leaders, elected local government leaders, and Maasai civil society organizations. We welcome the proposal to conduct a new mission to ensure the voices of the affected communities can be heard. We wish to request that the objective of such a mission be expanded beyond conservation to account for all three founding foundations of the Ngorongoro conservation areas as outlined in the 1959 NCA Act: conservation, tourism, and the livelihoods of the Maasai residents of the NCA. We recommend that any future mission have the objective to examine not only the overall state of conservation of the property, but also the state of realization of the human rights of the peoples included, including those refusing relocation, as well as the carrying capacity of tourism as currently conducted and as anticipated. These three elements are at the heart of the multiple land use plan and should not be separated in any assessment of the situation of the property. Finally, we demand that any future mission should be conducted in line with international human rights standards and should ensure that consultations comply with the rights of indigenous peoples to free, prior, and informed consent and meaning and effective participation both before and during the mission. This means that indigenous peoples should be involved in the elaboration of the objectives of the mission, as well as the development of a clear methodology to effectively consult affected people. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. let's proceed then. This one. I'll have to go for a meeting, but I'll ask the Vice Chair Kenya to officiate in my absence. The item now is 7B, Mixed Arab States. Thank you.
Let me start by expressing my gratitude to the substantive chair of the 46th session of the World Heritage Committee. And while he's away, I'll hold brief. And as is just mentioned, we are now on mixed properties from Arab states. I now invite Mr. Lendo Asomo to read the list of the mixed properties inscribed on the World Heritage List located in the Arab States region, for which all the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, and welcome.
Thank you.
The following property for which the report is proposed for adoption without discussion is the Hour of Southern Iraq, refuge of biodiversity and the relict landscape of the Mesopotamian cities, Iraq. Thank you very much.
If there is no objection from the committee on this state of conservation report, I declare the decisions read out adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. I see none. Let's proceed then. We now transition to nature properties in Africa. Sorry, there was a typographical error. We are on item number 52, Lake Baikal, the Russian Federation. Concerning the Europe and North America region, I would like to give the floor to the delegation of Belgium to present to the committee the reason it requested to open the state of conservation of the Lake Baikal, Russian Federation. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for opening this item. We requested to do so because we would like to ask a few questions to the Centre, Advisory Body and State Party that relate to last year's decision. You will remember that at that time the Russian Federation was still a member of this body.
Thank you. I now invite Mr. Guy Debonnet, Chief of the Natural Heritage Unit of the World Heritage Center and IUCN to provide their comments. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The 2003 reactive monitoring mission to this property concluded that its OUV is facing significant and ascertained threats and that the ecological condition is deteriorating, notably due to the long-term degradation of the water quality of the lake, the decline of endemic species, and the increasing anthropogenic pressures as a result of pollution, land use pressures, and the weakening of the regulatory framework. Mr. Chair, I haven't heard the question from Belgium, so if there are any questions, we would be happy to respond.
Thank you. We now invite IUCN to make their comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Perhaps, at your indulgence, perhaps, if the State Party of Belgium could pose their question, and then we'll be very pleased to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? We give the floor to Belgium to ask any questions that they could be having.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies. I was of the understanding that first the Centre and IUCN would present, and then I could ask the questions. The questions are twofold. The first relates to paragraph 3 of last year's decision, which stated that the State Party may not take any legislative initiatives that interfere with the maximum allowable variation in water level, and now I quote, until the impacts of all existing water use and management regulations on the OUV are fully assessed and the requirements for its protection are set, unquote. And the State Party was therefore in the decision asked to provide the impact study. And we would like to know, and this is maybe a question to the Centre and IUCN, whether they have already received the study and been able to examine it thoroughly, and also what the water level variation is that this study proposes for Lake Baikal in the case that they have received the study. The second question relates to paragraph 5 of last year's decision, which referred to a study that analyzes and reviews the impact of legislative initiatives on the World Heritage property. And the committee specifically requested that the results of this study be used to strengthen the protection of Lake Baikal, including from a legislative point of view. So we would like to have an update from the Russian Federation in this regard. Have they been able to, or have they taken any initiative to translate the desired water level range into legislation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Belgium. Let's pass it to IUCN.
Thank you, Chair. I will respond to the first question from Belgium. So in response to the question on the impact study on the water level variations, the reactive monitoring mission that visited the property in December 2023 was informed that the State Party has conducted a 3-stage scientific study to assess the impacts of the change in the water level of the lake on the state of conservation of the aquatic and coastal ecosystems and the damage suffered by the coastal socio-economic infrastructures in connection with the management of the Irkutsk hydropower dam located downstream from the property. The summary results of this study were presented to the mission and indicate that the optimal range of Lake Baikal water level variation would be 1 meter, except for years with extreme water availability, confirming the validity of the legal regulations established by the State Party in 2001 that limit the water level variations to this 1 meter. However, from 2016 onwards, consecutive legal derogations have allowed much larger water level variation of up to 2.3 meters in Lake Baikal. The World Heritage Centre and IUCN welcome the development of the scientific study, as it is expected to lead a way out of the current practice of derogations. However, neither the full scientific study nor the proposals for the updated legal framework on the water level regulation of Lake Baikal have yet been submitted to the World Heritage Centre for review by IUCN, a request of which is reflected in the draft decision that we submitted to the committee. The World Heritage Centre and IUCN therefore confirm the continued relevance of the committee's last decision from September 2023, by which the committee urged the State Party to refrain from renewing legislative amendments which will allow extending the water level variation beyond 1 meter until the impacts of all existing water use and the management regulations on the OUV are fully assessed and the results shared with the World Heritage Centre for review by IUCN, and the requirements for the protection of the property's OUV are set. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I would like to know whether there are any comments. I see none. Let's proceed then. I now invite you I'm being reminded that there was a question posed to Russia. Please, Russia, would you respond to Belgium?
Уважаемый господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги, как правильно отметил гид Дебана, в ходе мониторинговой миссии экспертам ЦВН и МСОП были переданы предварительные данные исследований, практически финальные. В настоящее время финальные данные готовы. Они размещены на официальном сайте Байкала, экологический мониторинг озера Байкала, но, к сожалению, только на русском языке. В настоящее время осуществляется их перевод. Как только перевод будет закончен, он будет официальным каналом направлен ЦВН ЮНЕСКО. Спасибо.
I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46COM 7B.52 concerning this property, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'ai reçu il y a quelques instants les amendements proposés par la Belgique, dont la traduction française est en cours de finition. Je vais dès lors, therefore I will present them in English since they were submitted in English very recently. The amendments starts para 5. I will read the whole para, if you may. Welcomes the development of the study to assess the environmental and socio-economic impacts of the water level regime of Lake Baikal, requests the state party to submit the study to the World Heritage Center and to make it available on the Lake Baikal ecological portal, and also urges the state party to elaborate by the end of 2024 detailed proposals to develop water level regulations of Lake Baikal to be compatible with the protection of the property's OUV, and to submit these proposals to the World Heritage Center for review by IUCN. Adding this part, reminding the state party to refrain from using any legislative amendments which allow extending the water level variation beyond 1 meter due to potential negative impact on the property and its OUV, I think we can directly say OUV, until the before-mentioned study and the legislative proposals of all water use and management regulations on the OUV is reviewed by IUCN and the requirements for its protection are set. After that, we can go to the last para. Finally, requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Center by 1st of February 2025 an updated report on the state of conservation of the property, reflecting progress on the implementation of the above, including the recommendations of the 2023 reactive monitoring mission for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 47th session. Therefore, I would also like maybe from Belgium to clarify if they meant to change 48th to 47th. Yes, okay. 47th session, so 2025. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ukraine has requested for the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is well known that Lake Baikal is a unique natural object of universal importance. Let me remind you that this is the deepest lake on our planet, where huge reservoirs of fresh water are concentrated, which is becoming even more valuable and important resource every year. In addition, this lake is known for its rich biodiversity, which includes a significant number of endemic species. But the active economic activity within the property has led to numerous problems that threaten the OUV. However, a significant number of critical problems still occur. This is particularly noted in the report of the Joint Directive Monitoring Mission of World Heritage Center and EUCN, which took place in December 2023. Let me quote briefly. Based on the finding of the 2023 Reactive Monitoring Mission, the World Heritage Center and the EUCN conclude that OUV of the property faces significant ascertained and potential threats. The environmental condition of the property is deteriorating, notably due to the long-term degradation of the water quality of Lake Baikal, illustrated by the development of unprecedented algal blooms and bacterial pollution, the presence of polluting chemical substance in the water, and increasing plastic pollution, and the decline of certain endemic species that are bioindicators of the health of the lake. Take into account all of the above, it is necessary to intensify action to preserve the unique nature heritage. In particular, we propose to amend paragraph 11 and 12 and propose to organize a reactive monitoring mission to the site in the summer of 2025 and to submit the relevant report to the World Heritage Committee at its 47th session. We support proposal of Belgium. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's now examine the draft decision 46.7b.52, paragraph by paragraph. For paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4, there are no amendments, so we adopt. We go to paragraph 5. Let me just use it.
Okay, so you can move. There's no one, so you can move. It's okay.
Paragraph 5. No objection, and because of that, we consider paragraph 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 2 over the page, on paragraph 11, the rapporteur wants to take the floor. Please, rapporteur, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je souhaiterais que soit reflété à l'écran l'amendement ukrainien soumis à l'instant qui suggère que la mission de suivi sur le bien en 2026 pendant la saison estivale soit remplacée par sur le bien en 2025 pendant la saison estivale. Je vous remercie.
There is a correction there. Is there any objection for this amendment? There is none. We move to paragraph 12. We are now in paragraph 12. We have Vietnam followed by Ukraine.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. J'aimerais avoir l'avis du secrétariat ou bien des organes consultatifs sur la nécessité et la faisabilité de déployer une mission en 2025 au lieu de 2026.
Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to point out that the mission just visited the property in December 2023, and the mission did recognize that there was a need for a new mission to follow up on some of the points, which is proposed in the draft decision for 2026. I think we also need to give the state party the time to be able to respond to some of the recommendations of the 2023 mission, and therefore I think a mission in 2025 might not be the best solution. It might be better to keep the mission at 2026 to allow for the state party to implement some of the recommendations that were established by the 2023 mission. But of course, if the committee decides otherwise, we will definitely see how we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I wish to give the floor to the director of the World Heritage Center on the same.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. It is in the same, just to confirm exactly what my colleagues have said. I think we really need to give the state party the time to implement the 2023 recommendations of the mission. So I think in our view, it is important to keep the mission in 2026 in order for the mission really to be able to assess the implementation of the recommendations by the state party. So I hope the delegation of Ukraine would agree with us in terms of the methodology and the time and the efficiency of a satisfactory monitoring of the reactive monitoring mission on the site. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Director. We now move to paragraph.
So if you can, if you can.
Ukraine, are you agreeable to retaining 2026 on paragraph 11? Members of the committee, what is your say on that? Vietnam, please, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, I think that Ukraine has raised the flag before me.
Back to Ukraine, please.
Are we discussing point 11?
Yes, we are still on point 11. Ukraine has dropped. Let's go back to Vietnam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies for their explanation, which are very useful. And that's why we would like to propose to keep their recommendations to for the 2026 mission. And thus, in the same vein, we would like on paragraph 12 to have the committee examine this issue at the 48th session as recommended by the advisory bodies.
Belgium, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Having heard the Secretariat, we also think that we should stick with 2026. And I'm still considering whether we should go for the 47th or the 48th session. Yeah, if we ask a report by 1st February of next year, there's no sense in leaving it on the shelf for a year and a half. So it's probably better to already have maybe an intermediate look at it next year, and then in 2 years' time look at the results of the mission.
Ukraine, we want to pose a question to you so that we can be able to find a way of sorting out paragraph 11. Are you okay with reverting back to 2026?
No.
St. Vincent, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, after listening to the Secretariat, to the Director, maybe it's more logical to keep 2026. This was a clear explanation. Thank you.
I give the floor to Lebanon.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. À partir du moment où le directeur du centre et les organes consultatifs préconisent la date de 2026, je veux dire, il n'y a aucun sens de demander, à notre avis, de changer cette date. Il vaut mieux rester sur 2026, bien évidemment.
We are back to Ukraine. We wouldn't want to get stuck, but in the spirit of consensus and having heard the different opinions from the Secretariat and our esteemed committee members, would you then accept to work with 2026?
Yeah.
We are compelled to open the floor for other committee members to contribute to the current debate.
understand.
Esteemed committee members, Vietnam, Belgium, St. Vincent, and Lebanon are all in favor of 2026. And in view of that, we settle the matter because the majority have the say, and we've given opportunity to the rest of the committee members to contribute to this, and have received guidance from the Secretariat accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Allow me to make perhaps a clarification that may help the committee to take this decision. The fact that the Center and IUCN consider the right time to the reactive monitoring mission in 2026 would not prevent the committee from requesting a state of conservation report by 1st February to be brought to the attention of the next committee session. So I just want to make that clarification. The fact that the reactive monitoring mission doesn't happen in 2025 doesn't mean that the committee cannot request a state of conservation for examination at its next session. So I hope this helps. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Ukraine, we've had more clarification from the Secretariat and the experts.
Okay. Thank you very much. For the sake of consensus, yes.
Thank you very much. We now move to paragraph 12. We are on paragraph 12, is the last paragraph.
Any objection?
Any objection from any member? There's no objection, and we now, I believe, are ready to Ukraine, you have the floor.
Merci, monsieur. Nous voudrions que notre nom soit inscrit avec l'amendement belge. Merci.
Well noted. I want to give the floor to the Secretariat for some clarification. Sorry, we are not moving as fast. I should have put an L if you come from my country, or an A if you come from France.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. No, I think the 1st February 2025, it's of course corresponding to the 47th session. So I think it should be, I hope the Vietnam ambassador is in agreement with it, so that I just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
We are now ready to adopt the whole decision.
Okay, so.
Rapporteur, you have the floor as we consider the whole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Avant de voter, avant de se prononcer sur l'ensemble de la décision, je voulais m'assurer que nous parlons bien pour le dernier paragraphe. d'un rapport soumis pour le 1er février 2025 pour examination au comité lors de sa 47e session en 2025 également. Merci.
That's correct. Is that correct?
You can give the floor to Vietnam.
I give the floor to Vietnam as we seek to clarify.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is it the initial recommendation by the advisory bodies that the report will be submitted in 2025 for the examination at the 47th session, right? Okay, so we can go along with that.
Thank you, Vietnam. Thank you all. We are ready to adopt the entire decision, and I therefore declare the draft decision 46Com 7B.52 adopted as amended. Thank you very much. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about this property. I see none. Let's proceed then. Moving on to natural World Heritage properties, I now invite Mr. Elondo Asomo to read the list of the natural properties inscribed on the World Heritage List located in the Europe and North America region, for which all the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The following 4 properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion are Białowieża Forest, Belarus, Poland; Wadden Sea, Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands; volcanoes of Kamchatka, Russian Federation; Western Caucasus, Russian Federation. Thank you very much.
If there is no objection from the committee on this state of conservation report, I declare the decisions read out adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. State Party of Belarus, you have the floor.
Уважаемый господин председатель, уважаемые члены комитета, уважаемые делегации, от имени белорусской делегации хотел бы выразить признательность за предоставленное слово. Беловежская пуща – это последний в Европе и самый большой естественный равнинный лес, который уникален тем, что дает нам возможность наблюдать за живой природой в ее первозданном виде. Для сохранения Беловежской пущи Беларусь принимает значительные усилия. Серьезную обеспокоенность вызывает негативные последствия строительства Польшей искусственного заграждения на территории объекта. Речь идет о нарушении гидрологического режима прилегающих экосистем, проникновения и распространения чужеродных и инвазивных видов растений. Созданное искусственное препятствие на территории объекта нарушает принцип свободного передвижения биологических видов в пределах их естественной среды обитания и представляет серьезную угрозу устойчивому существованию и сохранению популяции диких животных. Хотелось бы выразить признательность Центру всемирного наследия ЮНЕСКО за содействие и организацию в марте этого года реактивной мониторинговой миссии в Беловежской пуще, а также поблагодарить экспертов миссии. Выводы миссии нашли отражение в проекте решения комитета. В частности, обращено внимание на необходимость принятия конкретных мер по смягчению последствий в масштабах всего объекта, координации действий Белоруссии и Польши по трансграничному управлению для решения различных проблем сохранения объекта. Озабоченность белорусской стороны вызывает отсутствие с января 2022 года реакции польской стороны на наши инициативы и обращения. Реактивная мониторинговая миссия подчеркнула важность восстановления трансграничного сотрудничества, по крайней мере, на уровне обмена технической информацией. Белорусская сторона обращается с просьбой к Центру всемирного наследия ЮНЕСКО и Международному союзу охраны природы выступить посредником между Белоруссией и Польшей и оказать возможность содействия возобновлению трансграничного сотрудничества между нашими странами для эффективного выполнения рекомендаций Комитета и недопущения эффективного выполнения Комитета и неусугубления территории на трансграничном объекте Беловежская пуща. Просим секретариат отразить просьбу Беларуси в протоколе заседания. Спасибо за внимание.
Now Poland.
Thank you, Belarus. Poland has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, first of all, let me seize this opportunity to thank the World Heritage Center and IUCN for the work on the World Heritage Site Białowieża Forest and for an excellent cooperation and understanding we have had with them in this regard. Mr. Chair, our state border remains under increased pressure due to illegal crossings. This situation has been provoked, planned, and is consistently implemented by the Belarusian authorities. These actions by Belarus have a detrimental impact on Białowieża Forest, the World Heritage Site. The continuous, long-lasting character of the border crisis became apparent, and all our efforts to settle this situation by the diplomatic means had not brought any unexpected results. Therefore, Poland decided that it was necessary to build a barrier along the state border with Belarus to ensure our safety and security. However, a set of measures aimed at preventing, limiting, or compensating for environmental impacts of the barrier has been implemented. One of the major tasks has been to reduce the possible barrier effect on wild animals. At the same time, it should be emphasized that despite the determination of the Polish Nature Conservation Services to keep the border unobstructed for wild animals, the border is not and will not be unobstructed due to the Belarusian barrier existing for a long time, the so-called Systema. In many places, we start engineering installation along the entire border of Belarus runs closely adjacent to the border with Poland, which in fact prevents animals from crossing the border. Mr. Chair, Poland is open for the dialogue with the Belarusian authorities once they cease to conduct hostile actions in the Polish part of the World Heritage Site Białowieża Forest. Mr. Chair, in conclusion, Poland remains open for the constructive dialogue and discussion with regard to the World Heritage Site Białowieża Forest and stands ready to welcome again IUCN and the WHC reactive monitoring mission in 2027. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Poland, Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Russian Federation, what? Zrobiliście jakieś zdjęcia? Zrobiłam, okay.
Господин председатель, спасибо большое за предоставленное слово. Российская Федерация хочет поддержать Республику Беларусь в своих намерениях по защите уникальнейшего объекта Беловежской пущи. Многие годы, начиная с 1945 года, Российская Федерация и Республика Беларусь совместно реализуют программу по разведению единственной в мире чистейшей популяции, беловежской популяции зубра. И, конечно же, мы обеспокоены тем, что в настоящее время на территории Беловежской пущи, особо охраняемой природной территории, происходит неограниченная гибель животных в связи с возведенным искусственным сооружением, которое не соответствует требованиям, в том числе фортификационных сооружений на государственных границах. Поэтому мы поддерживаем просьбу Республики Беларусь и благодарим, что вы нас слышите, по налаживанию конструктивного диалога между Республикой Беларусь и Польшей по восстановлению возможных экодуков, коридоров для прохода животных в границах единой особо охраняемой природной территории Беловежская пуща.
Thank you for your comments. It's now my pleasure to invite back the substantive chair, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Seven B, Nature, Latin America and the Caribbean. I now invite Mr. Elendo Asomo to read the list of the natural properties for which all the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Mr. Director, you have the floor.
Maybe before starting, let me again thank the distinguished ambassador of Kenya for his chairmanship. Thank you very much. The following property for which the report is proposed for adoption without discussion is El Pinacate and Gran Desierto de Altar Biosphere Reserve, Mexico. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on this state of conservation report, I declare that decisions read out as adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. I see none. Let's proceed then.
Just going quickly to read my yes.
7B, Natural Properties Africa, Ivindo National Park, Gabon. Concerning the Africa region, I would like to give the floor to the delegation of Kenya to present to the committee the reason it requested to open the state of conservation of the Ivindo National Park, Gabon. Kenya, you have the floor.
Hello, thank you, Chair. Actually, it's Senegal and Rwanda that are on the form. Thank you, Chair. We submitted it as Vice Chair of the group on behalf of the whole group, but Senegal and Rwanda have the submission. Thank you, Chair.
That's what you are saying, but my scenario is saying differently, so I'll ask the Secretariat to clarify. Sorry for that, Senegal. There was some typo out here. The S, it was instead of Senegal, it was written as Kenya, so you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is draft decision that actually completes and clarifies the decision taken at the 44th session, and which requested the state party to submit a report before the 1st of December 2025. This includes the property management plan delayed due to COVID-19. Donc, Monsieur le Président, il y a simplement des changements techniques au projet de décision. Pour l'essentiel, nous sommes d'accord avec l'État partie il y a un petit changement qui est intervenu le changement, au lieu de dire crise politico-militaire ici, nous allons porter quelques changements sur le point 3 notamment. Et donc il s'agit de changements mineurs qui ne devraient poser aucun problème et je voudrais proposer qu'on passe à son adoption. Merci.
Thank you. I now invite Mr. Guy Debonnet, Chief of the Natural Heritage Unit of the World Heritage Center and IUCN, to provide their comments. You have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Comme le Sénégal n'a pas posé de questions, je ne pense pas que c'est nécessaire de notre part d'intervenir. S'il y a une question, nous sommes prêts à répondre. Merci.
Thank you. I would like to know whether there are any comments from any state parties. I see none. Let's proceed then. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46-7B.57 concerning this property, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Effectivement, comme annoncé par la délégation sénégalaise, nous avons bien reçu des propositions d'amendements soumises par le Sénégal, coécrites par le Rwanda. Elle commence au paragraphe 3 de la décision. Notant le retard accumulé dans le processus d'actualisation du plan de gestion du bien en raison de la pandémie de Covid-19 et du changement politique intervenu le 20 août 2023 à la place de la crise politico-militaire. Avant ça, je souhaiterais peut-être demander à la délégation du Sénégal s'ils veulent supprimer la mention de la pandémie de Covid-19 suite à ce que vous venez d'expliquer ou si vous souhaitez le maintenir dans le texte. Sous point A du même paragraphe 3, un ajout tiennent compte de la protection de la valeur universelle du bien, y compris dans le cadre d'inventaire de biodiversité et d'un plan de suivi pour la biodiversité de ses eaux douces et de ses forêts, ainsi que le renforcement des capacités de suivi phénologique basées sur la fructification et la floraison des arbres, tel que recommandé dans le rapport de conservation du bien de 2024. Et je remercie d'ailleurs la délégation sénégalaise de m'avoir appris le mot phénologique. Merci.
Senegal, it's all your day. Yesterday, today, it's all your day. And but there's a request by the rapporteur that could you delete the reference to the COVID-19 pandemic, if I heard that right. Senegal, you have the floor. Is it okay if the rapporteur removes it? Please unmute Senegal. Technical team, can someone please come and have a look at the mic of the Senegalese delegation, please? We will wait. Can I request somebody from the technical side to come and look at the mic of the Senegalese delegation?
Hello.
Hello.
Gal, I think your mic is now working. You can return back to your country.
French is like that, Mr. President. No.
Thank you. Now I'm back to my country. So to move, yes, we keep de la pandémie de Covid-19 et du changement politique intervenu le 20 août 2023. Thank you, Chair. We keep en raison de la pandémie de Covid-19.
Thank you, Mr. Rapporteur. All right. We go para by para. Go to para 1. Are there any objections to para 1 and 2? I see none. We go to para 3. Are there any objections to the suggestion by Senegal and Rwanda? I see none. We go to para 3.A. I see no plates. We go to para 3.B. C. I see no objections. We go to para 4. Para 5. We go to para 6. Para 7. Para 8. I see no objections. Are there any objections to adopting this decision as a whole? I see none. This decision is adopted without amendments. 46 Com 7B.57. Thank you very much. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about this property. I see no plates. Let's proceed then. We go to Mosi Wa Tuna, Victoria Falls, Zambia, Zimbabwe. I now would like to give the floor to the delegation of Kenya to present to the committee the reason it requested to open the state of conservation of Mosi Wa Tuna, Victoria Falls, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We wish to open the DR draft decision for amendment as it includes certain elements that were dealt with in the 45th session in Riyadh, and yet they appear again in the current DR, and we wish to therefore amend the DR. Also, we were informed of a recent meeting, actually was held yesterday, between the two state parties concerned, Zambia and Zimbabwe, and the IUCN, and an agreement was reached on, and therefore certain amendments have also been proposed to integrate some of the elements from the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. No questions have been asked from the Secretariat, so I assume you would be saying the same thing, or would you like to take the floor?
We would like to briefly take the floor, if possible.
Yes.
Thank you. The World Heritage Center and IUCN remain very concerned about the tourism infrastructure development in this property, which is an increasing pressure on the outstanding universal value. Already certain tourism infrastructures, such as the Mosi Wa Tuna Livingstone Resort Hotel, were constructed despite the committee's request to halt further activities. Other infrastructure projects seem to be planned in the areas recognized as highly sensitive zones, according to the previous Joint Integrated Management Plan. It is therefore important that the ongoing update of the Joint Integrated Management Plan incorporates necessary safeguards and thresholds to mitigate against the development pressures, as well as a clear zonation of the property with well-prescribed limits of use and permissible activities in line with the objectives of protecting the OUV and in line with past committee decisions. We note the information provided by the state party that the finalization of the joint management plan has been delayed for the purposes of alignment with other respective national documents. However, we stress the urgency of putting in place the mentioned safeguards and consider that no further developments should be permitted unless these are in place. Mr. Chair, IUCN also has a compliment to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The World Heritage Centre and IUCN would like to thank the states parties of Zambia and Zimbabwe for the constructive discussions that were made possible in the meeting between the two states parties, the World Heritage Centre and IUCN yesterday, which was just raised, which allowed for an open and constructive exchange regarding the draft decision wording and the proposed amendments that were tabled today. As has been outlined by the World Heritage Centre, overall we continue to remain concerned about tourism development projects and their pressure on the OUV of the property, and it remains critical that a strategic approach to tourism planning and management is undertaken, including through the finalisation of the Joint Integrated Management Plan for the property, as well as environmental impact assessments, so as to ensure that tourism development is appropriately planned, assessed and managed in relation to the property and its OUV. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your presentation. I would like to know whether there are any comments. I see none. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 47Com7B.60 concerning this property, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous avons effectivement reçu un amendement du Kenya pour cette décision sur Mosi Watunya, chute Victoria, Zambie, Zimbabwe. Amendement qui débute au paragraphe 4 avec un remplacement de toutes les recommandations par des recommandations de la mission de suivi réactif de 2022 et la suppression de la fin du paragraphe. Nouveau paragraphe 5. Rappelant également sa préoccupation concernant la pression croissante des infrastructures touristiques à l'intérieur et autour du bien, exacerbée par une mise en œuvre insuffisante de la planification stratégique, reconnaît que la révision du plan de gestion intégré commun, PGIC, JIMP en anglais, pour le bien a été retardée afin de l'aligner avec d'autres documents nationaux pertinents et demande aux États parties de finaliser le PGIC dès que possible et de s'assurer qu'ils comprennent les garanties et seuils nécessaires pour atténuer les pressions du développement afin de protéger la VE du bien, ainsi qu'un zonage du bien comprenant des limites clairement déterminées concernant l'utilisation et les activités autorisées, y compris les infrastructures, conformément aux objectifs de protection de la VUE et aux précédentes décisions du comité. Fixer les limites précises du bien et de sa zone tampon en vue de conclure l'inventaire rétrospectif du bien. C'est rendre compte de l'harmonisation des différents plans et documents politiques nationaux et transfrontaliers. Plan de politique nationale, plutôt de politique si c'est policy en anglais. D. Soumettre le PGIC au Centre du patrimoine mondial avant le 30 juin 2025 pour examen par IUCN avant qu'il ne soit adopté. Paragraphe suivant, légère modification pour éviter l'impact sur la VUE du bien au lieu d'impact sur le bien. Proposition de suppression de l'ancien paragraphe 8. Et c'est tout pour cet amendement, Monsieur le Président. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Are there any objections to para 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3? I see none. We go to para 4. The amendments. Are there any observations to para 4? Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Republic of Korea, first of all, greatly appreciate the continued cooperation between the states parties of Zambia and Zimbabwe and their partners to improve the state of conservation of the Mosi Oa Tuna Victoria Falls. And we take note of the improvement efforts made by state parties, such as the ongoing research, monitoring, and management activities. And regarding the amendment submitted by the Kenya, regarding the paras 4, we agree that if this deleted phrase means that it can be integrated into the scheduled revised joint integrated management plan, then we agree that this phrase can be deleted. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Rwanda, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Rwanda se joint au Kenya pour l'amendement proposé au point 4 suivant. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. We go to paragraph 5. Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The paragraph 5 is because the JIMP Joint Integrated Management Plan revision has been delayed. So the proposed new paragraph 5 includes the... Okay.
We could hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, proposed new paragraph 5 includes the reason for the delay and contains all requests presented in the paragraph 8 of the drafted decision, indicating the new deadline for JIMP submission to the World Heritage Center by end of June 2025. Therefore, we agree to the new paragraph 5 and the deletion of the paragraph 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. You have agreed to this paragraph 5. And the second part was deletion of paragraph 8. Okay, because you agreed to that. Thank you. So we go back to para 5 quickly. All right, para 5 as amended and along with its subsections A to A, B, C, D. Are there any objections to this? I see none. We go to para 6. I see no objections to this. Para 7. No objections. Para 8. No objections. Deletion of the old para 8. I see no objections. We go to para 9. And para 10. I see no objections. Now we go for adoption of this entire draft decision as amended as a whole. Are there any objections? I see none. I therefore declare the draft decision 46Com7B.60 adopted as amended. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about this property. I don't see any observer state parties here. This is for observer state parties, Zimbabwe.
Mr. Chair, since Zimbabwe is taking the floor for the first time, we would like to thank you for the excellent steering of the deliberation so far. We would also like to express our gratitude to the government of India for graciously hosting us, as well as extending our appreciation to UNESCO World Heritage Center for excellent organization of the session. We also appreciate the work and expert advice offered by AWHF and IUCN in reviewing the draft resolution. Mr. Chair, we would like to reinforce what has already been presented by Kenya and supported by the Republic of Korea and Rwanda, with particular reference to paragraph 5. The issue of blueprint is discussed and settled in Saudi Arabia during the 45th session of the HWC during decision 45-7B10. We therefore note that the same issue is recurring in the current draft resolution, yet it is a settled matter that needs no further intervention. Therefore, this should be struck off from the draft resolution. Both said parties of Zimbabwe and Zambia commit to submit the joint integrated management plan to IUCN for review on or before the 3rd June 2025. I thank you.
Thank you. Any other state party, observer state party would take the floor? I see none. Let us proceed then. I now invite Mr. Elendo Asamoah to read the list of the natural properties inscribed on the World Heritage List located in the Africa region, for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Mr. Director, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The following 3 properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion are W. Arli Penjari Complex, Benin, Burkina Faso, and Niger; George National Bird Sanctuary, Senegal; and Serengeti National Park, United Republic of Tanzania. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on this state of conservation report, I declare the decisions read out adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. I see none. Let us proceed then. This is now related to Socotra Archipelago, Yemen. I now would like to give the floor to the delegation of Belgium to present to the committee the reason it requested to open the state of conservation of the Socotra Archipelago, Yemen. Belgium, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Socotra Archipelago, inscribed on the World Heritage List on 2008 based on Criterion 10, is globally important for the biodiversity conservation because of its exceptionally rich and distinct flora and fauna. 37% of Socotra's plant species, 90% of its reptile species, and 95% of its land snail species do not occur anywhere else in the world. Socotra is particularly important to the Horn of Africa's biodiversity hotspot as one of the most biodiverse, rich and distinct islands in the world. And that is why, Chair, this island has been termed the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean. Belgium has studied the dossier in detail and has proposed to open a discussion on this magnificent site in order to highlight the important concerns regarding the conservation status of the Socotra archipelago. Based on our information and the analysis of the World Heritage Center and IUCN, identified and potential threats include climate change, overfishing, impacting coral reefs, infrastructure development, water management challenges, urbanization leading to cultural shifts away from traditional land use practices, and overgrazing. Although there have been some very valuable initiatives on the ground, and I would like to emphasize that, regarding habitat restoration, we also feel that insufficient progress has been made in addressing some critical conservation issues. In addition, the State Party has not been able to submit a state of conservation report for 2024. Given the complex geopolitical dynamics in the region, these challenges demand urgent attention and concerted international cooperation. And therefore, Belgium proposes an amendment to the draft decision to underscore the urgency of several conservation measures and to enhance international collaboration for safeguarding of the unique biodiversity of Socotra archipelago. We also like to refer to the very constructive dialogue we had with the Honorable Delegation of Yemen over the past few days, which has highlighted their willingness to address these issues and their openness to receive the reactive monitoring mission as soon as possible. And in this regard, I would like to ask the State Party of Yemen to share their perspective regarding the SOC and the reactive monitoring mission. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Guy Bonnet, would you like to take the floor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The World Heritage Center and IUCN remain concerned that the property remains threatened by pressures such as infrastructure development, invasive species, as well as limited funding and the management capacity resulting from the conflict in Yemen. While the state party has invited the reactive monitoring mission to the property, its organization has been difficult because of different logistical issues. However, it's a priority for the World Heritage Center and IUCN to organize this mission as soon as possible. The mission will assess the state of conservation of the property and look into the different threats to the OUV mentioned by Belgium. Regarding the collection of marine resources, which is also one of the amendments proposed by Belgium, we note that the state party in 2019 mentioned that fishing remains seasonal and traditional and that fishing activities have decreased due to the public sector employment resulting in reduced pressure on the marine environment. They also reported that the reopened fish factory has not led to an increase in fishing and that local authorities have stopped illegal sea cucumber harvesting by non-Socotri investors. IUCN also have a small comment to make on this site. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As outlined by the World Heritage Centre, in the absence of a state party report this year, it is difficult to confirm the current state of conservation of the property, and hence the World Heritage Centre and IUCN have recommended that the committee reiterate the majority of its request from its last 45th session. And we continue to remain in active planning with the state party for the aforementioned reactive monitoring mission, which is hoped to be undertaken in the coming months. This mission will be an important opportunity to ascertain the situation on the ground and the state of conservation of the property, and to propose effective technical recommendations for the property moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your presentation. I would like to know whether there are any comments. I see. Yes, Qatar, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We support the Belgian proposal for amendment as it addresses several missing points regarding the recommendation for the conservation of Socotra archipelago. Additionally, it highlights and supports the efforts made by the state party Yemen. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I give the floor to Vietnam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We have 2 points to make. First, given the complex current situation in the state party and the region, it would be very helpful for the international community to continue to support the government to implement the programs of safeguarding and protection of the site. And second, we welcome the willingness of the state party to receive the reactive monitoring mission, and we also welcome the announcement that the Secretariat has mentioned that the mission will be taken very soon. And this will be very useful so that we can have better understanding about the state of conservation of property. And in this regard, we wish to support the amendment proposed by Belgium. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no more further requests. I will now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46-7B.61 concerning this property, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments.
Vous l'aurez compris, Monsieur le Président, nous avons reçu un amendement de la part de la Belgique, soutenu à l'instant par le Qatar et le Vietnam. Un amendement qui débute avec le paragraphe 5 de la décision, demande que le PZC, le plan de zonage de conservation, soit finalisé en priorité et soumis au Centre du patrimoine mondial, et rappelle à l'État partie que tout projet de développement planifié au sein du bien, de sa zone tampon ou de son cadre élargi devrait être sujet à une évaluation spécifique de ses impacts potentiels sur la VUE du bien, conformément au guide et boîte à outils pour les évaluations d'impact dans un contexte de patrimoine mondial, avant que des décisions difficilement réversibles ne soient prises. Ajout d'un paragraphe 7, rappelant également que selon de précédents rapports, la pêche et la récolte de ressources aquatiques dans le cœur de la zone marine et des zones tampons représentent des menaces importantes, demande importante virgule, demande à l'État partie d'évaluer les menaces potentielles pesant sur la faune marine en raison de la surpêche et de la récolte des ressources aquatiques. Ajout d'un paragraphe 10. Note avec satisfaction les efforts de l'État partie pour assurer la coordination avec des organisations et projets internationaux afin de protéger la valeur universelle exceptionnelle du site, y compris les actions visant à conserver les zones humides Ramsar, la restauration de l'habitat par la reforestation et la diffusion d'activités telles que le projet SSC-FCC de l'UICN, la deuxième phase du projet Franklinia sur les arbres en péril, les Amis de Socotra, et encourage l'État partie à poursuivre et élargir ces initiatives en y incluant des projets de sensibilisation sociale et de renforcement des capacités. Plus loin au paragraphe 14, réitère sa demande par « Note les efforts de l'État partie pour inviter une mission conjointe de suivi réactif. Une mission de suivi réactif conjointe, Centre du patrimoine mondial UICN sur le bien, et demande à nouveau qu'elle soit effectuée dans les meilleurs délais afin d'évaluer si le bien remplit les conditions pour une inscription sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril et de formuler des recommandations pour assurer la préservation de la VE du bien. » Suppression de la dernière partie de l'amendement 14 et fin de l'amendement sur l'archipel de Socotra. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Let's go paragraph by paragraph quickly. We go to para 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, para 1 to 4. Are there any objections for adopting para 1 to 4? I see none. We go to para 5. I see Japan. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. We don't have any objection to the contents of the proposal. However, it seems to us this addition is similar to paragraph 8A. So we would like to ask Belgium the difference between two sentences. Thank you.
Thank you. Belgium, you have the floor to respond to that specific question, the difference between the two sentences. One is obviously para 8A. Belgium, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So the para 5 refers to the development projects. Well, was old para 8?
7A, old para.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think it's effectively right that there is an overlap in this. It refers also to the development projects.
Would you like to delete something from para 5?
It might be a suggestion to delete 8A.
Can we go to 8A? Strike out 8A. All right, we go back to para 5. Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, we had the same question about the overlapping between
Thank you.
5 and 8A, and then we agree the amendment in principle, and the main difference between two para will be the comprehensiveness. So the proposed amendment in para 5 mentioning the property not only property but also buffer zones and its wider setting. So if the amendment intends to give more stronger comprehensive action, then we can the Belgium's amendment can be in 8A, including property areas and also buffer zones and wider setting. In that direction, I think the amendment will be improved. Thank you.
Thank you. 8A has already been striked out by Belgium. So I see there are no further objections to this para 5. We continue to para 6. Are there any objections to para 6? I see none. Para 7. Are there any objections to para 7? I see none. We go to the new para 8, and A8A has been striked out by Belgium. And we go to the new para 8A. B, are there any objections to that? We see none. We go to new para 9. Any objections? I see none. We go to para 10. Are there any comments for para 10? I see none. We go to para 11, 12, 13. 11, 12, 13, are there any objections? I see none. We go to para 14. Are there any objections? I see none. We go to para 15. Para 15, please. Are there any objections? I see none. We will now adopt the entire para as a whole. Are there any objections for adoption of this para as a whole? I see none. I therefore declare draft decision 46-7B.61 adopted as amended. Thank you. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about this property. I see none. Let's proceed then. Yemen, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and congratulations for your elections. I also commend India for hosting the committee sessions and hospitality. I also commend the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies. Yemen is strongly committed to the World Heritage Convention and in protecting and safeguarding all its cultural and natural sites. Despite the difficult situation in the country, the protection of our heritage remains our priority. I want to reiterate the following regarding the exceptional Socotra Archipelago World Heritage Site. Yemen is coordinating with various international partners and projects to help mitigate specific threats, and we are fully committed to continue this work. Yemen is also committed to limit urban development zone and regulate such activities in the site. The revision of the management of the protected areas in the site is a priority. The government has collaborated with UNESCO and IUCN in 2023 to effectively clean specific coastal sites in Socotra. We do not think that the site at this stage needs to be included at the endangered list, and we wish to emphasize that we have requested a reactive monitoring mission a few years ago and we repeat this request to be met as soon as possible. Yemen is also committed to submit to the World Heritage Center next year an updated report on the state of conservation of the property without delay. Yemen call on UNESCO and the international community to support the government during these challenging, difficult times and to help ensure the effective protection and management of this exceptional property. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We now proceed, go to Phoenix Island protected areas, Kiribati. I have been made to understand that a delegation of Belgium would like to go directly to the draft decision. So, it's the Secretariat that will skip its presentation. So I would now like to give the floor to the delegation of Belgium to present to the committee the reason it requested to open the state of conservation of the Phoenix Island Protected Area, Kiribati. Belgium, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The Phoenix Island Protected Area, or PIPA, inscribed on the World Heritage List in 2010 based on criterion 7 and 9, is the largest designated marine protected area in the world. The property encompasses the Phoenix Island Group, one of the 3 island groups in Kiribati, and conserves one of the most largest intact oceanic coral archipelago ecosystem. Belgium has looked at the documents in front of us with a lot of attention, and we propose to open a discussion on this spectacular World Heritage property in order to highlight important concerns regarding the state of conservation of the PIPA. We regret the absence of a state of conservation report and the lack of response from the state party to the requested reactive monitoring mission during the 45th session. This has hindered us in our ability to assess and address emerging challenges effectively. Furthermore, we are concerned that there has been no official communication from the state party in response to inquiries, including correspondence from the World Heritage Center in 2021. The recent resumption of commercial fisheries within the property raises immediate concerns regarding its ecological integrity. In 2021, the state party introduced a marine spatial planning program aimed at balancing natural resource use to benefit of Kiribati's livelihood while safeguarding the property's OUV. However, there remains a need for more detailed information on clarity on the MSP program, including comprehensive maps and specific conservation measures being implemented. Even though the danger listing is not part of the amendment proposed, Belgium believes that a discussion on the potential danger listing of PIPA would be appropriate. As has been stated before during the committee, this is not to be perceived to reprimand the state party, but to highlight the grave concerns regarding the site and make available international assistance. The amendments we propose emphasizes the urgency of obtaining updated and comprehensive information from the state party regarding the raised issues and encourage the state party to address the potential threats. We invite the committee members to have a constructive debate on this matter in order to support the state party in safeguarding the outstanding universal value of the magnificent Phoenix Island protected area. Thank you, Chair.
thank you. I think the Secretariat will skip its presentation. Are there any further comments from Member States, St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. St. Vincent and the Grenadines thanks Belgium for opening the discussion on the report of the state of conservation of Kiribati, Phoenix Islands protected area. We note in the document that the last amounts granted to the property date from 2008 from UNESCO as part of the stakeholder workshop for the Phoenix Islands candidacy organized by the UNESCO office in Epia with funding from France, UNESCO Cooperation, and the UNESCO Italy Funds in Trust to support the finalization of the application nomination file at that time. As the state party is not present to explain how and why certain measures were or were not taken, we understand that some issues are beyond the control of the state party, such as the threats of climate change and the economic and environmental vulnerability of the island. And we recall that unsustainable fishing is not from Kiribati's one fishing fleet, but the bottom trawling or of commercial boats. At the 45th session, the committee reiterated its call upon the international community to refrain from any unsustainable fishing practices that could negatively impact on the OUV of the property and to assist the state party with the necessary financial and technical support
to assess the implications of removing the no-take protection status. We would like to know from the Center what is the status of the implementation of this paragraph in the decision taken at the 45th session. What financial and technical assistance has been allocated to the state party since the decision has adopted? Having said that, this is one of the capacity building activities to be offered to seeds in terms of conservation and protection. And we recall that World Heritage Site does not only belong to the state party, but to all humanity. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your very specific questions. I see the state party of Kazakhstan would like to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Your Excellency. Distinguished delegates, the Republic of Kazakhstan welcomes the amendment proposed by the States Party of Belgium. In doing so, we would also like to draw attention of the committee members that it is difficult to take decisions in the absence of the information and communication from the States Party concerned. Moreover, since there was no state of conservation report submitted and no follow-up communication, the implementation of the recommendations taken at this session is also of certain worry. In this respect, we consider it crucial to foster the collaboration between the World Heritage Center, the advisory body, and the States Party for the conservation of the outstanding universal value of Phoenix Island protected area. And for this, we would kindly ask the UNESCO regional office to actively engage in the communication with the States Party of Kiribati. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I give the floor back to you.
That's very kind of you. I'm very happy to receive the floor back. I see that there are no further requests to take the floor, so let's proceed. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46.7b.66 concerning this property. But before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments.
Maybe the sentence has asked a question to the Secretariat, if you allow 1 minute.
Yes. Mr. Rapporteur, I will ask you to just hold on and request that the Secretariat responds to the questions asked by the distinguished representative of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can confirm that the Centre has done quite a lot of effort to engage with the State Party, either directly or through the regional office in Apia. And we have had certain online meetings, but it has been quite difficult since apparently there have been changes in the management of the property which make direct communication very difficult. But we still continue to engage, to try through the regional office in Apia to engage with the state party. In terms of financial assistance, we have not received any request for financial assistance under the World Heritage Fund from Kiribati at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, Mr. Rapporteur, you have the floor.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, we are currently receiving amendments at the very last minute, so we needed some extra preparation.
And just, I've seen the State Party of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has raised her plate again. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, I am sorry to say it, but maybe some observers would like to take the floor on this issue. Thank you.
The observer state parties would be given after the adoption of the decision, not at this point in time. Mr. Rapporteur, you have the floor.
Monsieur le Président, nous avons reçu deux amendements concernant les îles Phoenix dans les îles à Kiribati. Un amendement soumis par la Belgique et soutenu en salle par le Kazakhstan, et des amendements de la part de Saint-Vincent et les Grenadines soumis il y a peu et qui n'ont pas eu le temps d'être circulés parmi les délégations. I will switch in English. I'll start with paragraph 5 with the Belgian amendment, recalling the importance of the outstanding universal value of this property of maintaining sufficiently large no-take zones and emphasizing the importance of commitments from other states parties to the World Heritage Convention to establish sufficiently large no-take zones. Then there's an additional para 6 from Saint-Vincent et les Grenadines, reiterates its call upon the international community to refrain from any unsustainable fishing practices that could negatively impact on the OUV of the property and to assist, souligner assist, and to assist the state party with the necessary financial and technical support to assess the implications of removing the no-take protection status. Si vous le voulez bien, Monsieur le Président, je vais poursuivre uniquement avec les amendements que j'ai reçus de la Belgique, car pour être honnête, je n'ai pas eu le temps de prendre connaissance du reste des amendements de Saint-Vincent. Il sera peut-être intéressant que la déléguée de Saint-Vincent puisse les présenter elle-même oralement. Paragraphe 7. Toujours sur l'amendement reçu par la Belgique, also reiterates serious concern, à la place de reiterates. Ajoute un paragraphe 9, requests the World Heritage Center and IUCN to closely follow up the state of conservation of this property and continue their efforts to engage with the state party, including through their offices in the region. Fin du premier amendement, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. We'll go to the first para. So when the para comes, you can introduce. When the para comes, I'll request a distinguished delegate of St. Vincent to present the amendment orally, but we go para by para. Para 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't see any amendments there. Would anyone like to take the floor for 1, 2, 3, 4? I see no requests. We go to para 5. Are there any amendments to para 5 in addition to this? Any further comments? I see none. I see 1. Remove the N from the none and you get 1. Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, it's working. Yeah. Republic of Korea echo the concerns expressed by our health center, IUCN, and several member states regarding the conservation status of this property, and especially also the no response from the member country and difficulties that the country has, the state party has at the moment. So we agree to all the amendments proposed by the Belgium and Saint Vincent and Grenadines, and there is I propose to make so I want to express our sincere thanks to raise these amendments to the Belgium and Saint Vincent and Grenadines. Thank you.
Thank you. Para 5, I don't see any further amendments to para 5. We go to para 6, as suggested by Saint Vincent and the Grenadines. Are there any suggestions, objections to para 6? I see none. We go to para 7. Any amendments to para 7? I see none. We go to para 8. 8A, B, C. Are there any amendments to para 8A, B, C? I see none. Go to para 9. No changes. We go to para 10. Are there any amendments to para 10? I see none. Go to para 11 and 12. Sorry, go to para 10 again. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, we see here a new paragraph. I mean, it was changed because it was request the World Heritage Center and UNESCO to provide more thorough follow-up of the property. And I would like to add to closely follow up and support, or no, to provide adequate support. To provide adequate support to the conservation of this property, maybe. Because, Mr. Chair, I heard the answer of IUCN and they said that they didn't receive any request from the state party for financial assistance. Mr. Chair, I think that the center should also follow this kind of decision from the committee. Nothing was, I mean, we had a decision at last year and we didn't receive any, the state party didn't receive any support, financial or technical support. So I think the dialogue should be established between the state party and the center, at least through the regional office. Thank you.
Thank you. The editors, can you just, the way that has been edited, it appears very complicated at this stage of the day. Okay. So, are there any objections to the addition by St. Vincent and the Grenadines? I see none. Mr. Rapporteur, is the grammar correct?
Okay, I would suggest requests the World Heritage Center and IUCN to closely follow up and provide adequate support to the conservation of this property, as well as continue their efforts to engage with the state party, including through their regional offices in the region. Would that be okay for Saint Vincent for their addition? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, it's the World Heritage Center that provides the support. I wonder if IUCN would also do the same, and whether this committee has the power to ask IUCN to do something, I do not know. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you've asked for the floor again. You have it for the fourth time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the indulgence. Just I want to add through UNESCO office, UNESCO field office in the region. Thank you.
Through the UNESCO field office in the region. Okay, is there further comments on this para 10? I see none. You go down to para 11 and 12. Are there any objections to 11 and 12? I see none. We go for adoption of the whole decision as a whole, as amended. Are there any objections? I see none. I therefore declare the draft decision 46 COM 7B.66 adopted as amended. Thank you. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about this property. Grenada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the floor. Grenada, as a SIDS, would like to thank the committee members for their decision, in particular calling for adequate support for Kiribati. Kiribati is a small island developing state and a least developed country. As mentioned by St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it has benefited of financial support in 2008 for the preparation and finalization of its nomination dossier, and we commend the donors. Nevertheless, Kiribati has submitted in 2019 a request for international assistance of $30,000 for conservation and management in the Phoenix Island protected area, and this request was not approved. Therefore, since inscription, the state party has not benefited from any international assistance. This is a good example that illustrates what we also underlined during the discussions of the open-ended working group, is that it is not sufficient to support a state party which needs it for the preparation of the nomination file, but that support after inscription for management and conservation of the site is equally of utmost importance and should prevent such situation. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Barbados.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it's with a great deal of concern and sadness that I speak. I do think it was an important moment for Belgium to have proposed that this particular state of conservation report be opened and given close consideration. I do think, however, that the tenor of the discussion leading up to this and the result is not really adequate in terms of a demonstration of international assistance and support to the state of conservation of this site. I am deeply proud of our colleagues from St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the investigation they launched in terms of understanding how this site has benefited or not from the requisite support that is desired, and which our other colleague from Grenada has now documented as to where the money was not received from, where the level of support was necessary. So I do think that while it is important that we have this discussion and this decision on the table, that the World Heritage Center, the advisory bodies, and the members of the committee and the non-members of the committee who are resident in this region and are knowledgeable about their sworn duty to support this conservation of this site should give deeper consideration as to how and in what way we can offer the necessary support and assistance and guidance to help this state party achieve the goals that we have all agreed to set. Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further requests, we shall proceed now. I now invite Mr. Elendo Asomo to read the list of the World Heritage located in the Asia-Pacific state regions for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. But once, let me announce, once this agenda is over, I'll give the floor to the state party, the host country, India, to make an announcement. Mr. Director, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The following 5 properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion are Great Barrier Reef, Australia, Manas Wildlife Sanctuary, India, Great Himalayan National Park Conservation Area, India, Lawrence National Park, Indonesia, Halong Bay Katba Archipelago, Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on this state of conservation report, I declare the decisions read out as adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. I see no one has raised a plate. Let's proceed then. I now give the floor to the host country, India, to make some announcements.
Thank you, Chair, for giving India the floor. We would like to inform the invitees to the dinner hosted by Lieutenant Governor of Delhi at Purana Killa tonight at 7 p.m. The transportations for the invitees has been arranged at both Bharat Mandapam from the parking area and also the hotels where the invitees are staying. And we would request all the invitees to reach the venue by 7:15 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Director of the World Heritage Center.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. This is just to inform you about the 2 side events that will take place. The first side event is organized by Bulgaria and is entitled One Land and Underwater Bulgarian Contribution in the Study and Preservation of Cultural Heritage. An exhibition following the side event will be installed from tomorrow on this topic, and this is taking place in room MR15 now. The second event, called Heritage in Hands, Conserving the Creativity of Craft Making Sites, is organized by ICOMOS and the Chinese National Administration and Cultural Heritage. and it's taking place in room MR19. Mr. Chairperson, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank the interpreters.
I would like to thank the interpreters for having been with us even after 6 p.m. And let me tell you that the committee adopted 56 decisions today on state of conservation. So everybody requires congratulations. You did a great job today. And with this, I would like to adjourn the meeting till tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.